let's see. Hopefully this all works. If there are anyone here in chat, say something into the typey type so I can see if anything is happening. Otherwise, keep trying to set things up. Nothing appears to be broken. Aha! Wonderful, wonderful. Very new to this whole streaming thing. Not that I'm an expert on YouTube either, but when trying to see how this works, I was getting a little lost into how it works. But I think we're good. I'm trying to turn everything on to make sure that things could be properly viewed, and it looks like that might have worked. Are you getting some rest? I hope after sending me that awesome looking design last night at god awful o'clock in the morning. Maybe. I think I'm going to be constantly confused about the delay. I think that's going to be our big thing. No, your phone types perfectly slow. There's a pretty, I think, significant delay between me saying the thing and it getting sent to people. So I'm gonna have to learn how to do that. By the way, the stuff that you sent me does look amazing. I'm so excited to be able to share this with people and see what people think. And I'm hoping that at some point you'll be able to sit and chill with some of the cool people who are in the Tales from Elsewhere Discord. I know you've got 7,500 things to do, and when you have time, it's getting sent to working on the All Mice Die stuff. But I feel like this has to be done stuff, at least for the moment, should be pretty solid. I'm hoping when you guys come over to the stuff tomorrow, that we will have kind of everything to come over. You wouldn't really need to do anything else. Yeah, well, ideally, I started early to try to make sure that I was able to actually start on time, because I've not done one like this. But hopefully there will be other people here, so it will not be me awkwardly talking to one person very slowly. Yes, if there is a way for you to print off the two spreads that you sent me, if I can get like 2 copies of those for tomorrow, that would be amazing. My printer does not do color, and these things will look so less cool, so much less cool if they are not in color, because you have done a very good job making color look cool on the page. So I'm gonna see if I can understand how this streaming tool works. Because it'd be really nice. I've seen on several different streams where people will be able to link be able to, like, someone puts a question in chat and they have a button they can click on and it'll put it into the main chat itself. And that is very interesting. So the person who's streaming does not have to, completely rephrase the thing that's being said. Mine's not going to be all that complex. I don't think I'm going to get a whole bunch of viewers anyways, at least not for quite a while. But that seems like a cool quality of life thing. I'll have to look around and see. I thought that might be something you can do in YouTube, but because it looks like the YouTube comment stuff, but maybe there is another tool that draws from YouTube comments that lets you show them on the screen. Yeah, don't burn yourself out, because I was both ecstatic to get a really cool looking document from you and sad to see that document was received at 2:30 in the morning. Please do not burn yourself out. Please get some sleep. I wonder if the changes that I've made have made the typing slightly less insanely loud. Probably not. It's probably still machine gunning whoever is listening into things. But I don't know how to quickly mute my mic. So more things to learn. A new game you think I might like to play? Well, I'm all ears. What is the new game? Oh, good. It's loud, as it should be. I wouldn't want people to be to join the Discord and chill with me and then be surprised when I machine gun their ears with my keyboard. Hello, Josh. Welcome. I'll be trying to sort of officially start everything here in a couple of minutes. And I don't know if I'll be able to justify that charge in your card, but I'll try. I'll see what I can do. If you are being too put out by it, right? If you're taking too much damage from this charge on your card. I know that there is someone who you may have a bond you might not be able to speak about, who you might be able to redirect some of that to, in case it is getting too much. I thought there would be a way to just like double click on stuff, but does not seem to be, or at least double click on anything does not do anything. Are they in the chat with us? I don't know. He is a little difficult to get a hold of sometimes. So my guess would be no. But I am intensely curious. I've been teased that there is this game that I might like playing, and Corinne has not said anything about what that might be. But while that is getting done, it is now 8:15. Hello to both of my viewers and to anyone else who stops by. Tonight we're going to be doing a little bit of patron Q&A. So also hello to editor Amber. Hopefully we can get this cut down to something that'll look a little bit better put on the channel for later, in case anyone is curious. And I'm hoping that I can keep a little bit of an archive of this going forward. A lot of what I'm doing in the game and on the Patreon itself is also going to have this archived for future reference feel to it. Right now there's a bunch of posts, there are a couple of posts there on the artwork that I'm getting commissioned and going through each of the steps of the process of talking with Jesse Cabrera, who is our primary artist for the sort of the bigger pieces in the book. And he's just finishing up, hopefully this weekend, finishing up 2 pieces for the factions, a skink piece of artwork and a bullfrog piece of artwork, and then is going to be starting on the cover art for the quick start, which I am really excited about. I think it's going to look very cool. Yeah, we're going to just do these things. We're going to go over a couple of questions, talk to a couple different people about stuff, and then work forward from there. When I've been sent some screenshots. Oh, building a language and building a world. I feel like this is right up my alley. Corinne says it is called Dialect. It's a similar vein to Microscope and Quiet Year, I think. I've not actually played Quiet Year. I've been told I should do so several times, and I've not gotten around to it. And yeah, you gave me the link to it. I appreciate that. So Corinne, the other person in chat, Josh, is in my main game. And when I say main game, I mean this really long, overarching 4th edition, sort of traditional, we play with the same group of characters, the same world, same story, style of campaign. He's been in that campaign for several years now, and language is very much important in that game. There's one of the major plot points of the game is that there is a language that nobody in the world understands, and there's a lot of stuff that is sort of walled behind that language. There's a lot of ancient knowledge that has been cordoned away or forgotten or sealed behind this idea of language. And even to the point of getting spells and sorceries and things to translate languages is less of a deal now. Now they've got a pretty good selection of codices to translate languages. But even then, sometimes they'll run across something where they have bits and pieces of the languages they need in order to get to where they're going. And so they get these fragments of languages. They get these things where there's some context missing. And it can be a lot of fun. I really enjoy the complexities inherent in a game where you just don't have a comprehend languages spell that says hit auto translate, and I don't have to worry about what's happening. Having to actually deal with dialects and languages and how cultures and languages are linked but not identical is a ton of fun. So yeah, if there's anything you guys have questions about, either in general design stuff or specifically to All My Sai, by all means ask away, and I will try to answer it in my best that I can. Like I said, I'm going to be recording some of these to go on later, so I'm going to start with kind of hitting the highlights of the questions that I've been asked from patrons. And then once I get through the patron questions, I will, or if you guys have a question about something that is a patron question or my response, I'll do that. But I want to try to get through all of those so I don't give Amber a 7-hour video to try to edit down of me just talking to 1 or 2 other people who are playing games on other monitors. So the first question, will the mainline AMD campaign that I run be pay to play in some fashion? So yes, there is a lot of work that I want to put into the game. And part of that is going to involve me spending money on it and trying to get it all together for the full release of the game. What I'm trying to do is find a good balance between the amount of investment that it takes to get me started on a campaign, because I really do love sitting down and doing the like one-on-one session 0. Let's walk you through the campaign. Let's get you introduced. Let me meet you and kind of break everything down. That is a ton of fun for me, but it's also very, very time consuming. And especially once the Kickstarter is done and there is this sort of momentum, hopefully, at least for me, I feel like I'm going to need to kind of push towards getting to the final product. I do want to try to spend my time economically, and it is going to be difficult for me to do with a lot of people who are sort of less interested. I've also found I've joined several West Marches campaigns or communities that are tabletop communities in the past that were free and several that were paid, and I paid more attention to the ones that I paid to, and I noticed that the sense of concreteness to the community, if you could get to a critical mass, which in this case I mean about 15 people, then you could really like have a very high quality community, right? You still do have some people that are in there to kind of mostly watch and do that stuff, but you have this different sense of investment. The same situation I got with Start Playing. Although Start Playing also had a issue where, for me, I would say about half of the people that I met on Start Playing were people who either wanted to be in the game and couldn't be in the game because they were a problem in some manner or another. And so Start Playing, they felt they could kind of force their spot into the game. Right, hey, I'm paying it, so you have to accept me, which I thought was very unhealthy. And I don't really think there's a lot of people on Start Playing who will allow that. So you then have those people with that feeling of entitlement who then get shut down and are then insufferable. And the other chunk of that, I don't know what percentage within that half it is, but that other chunk of people that I found were ones that, how do I put this? It's not that they weren't able to be in other people's games. It was, I don't know. I don't know how to phrase this best. But basically, when people were paying for their games, they were either sort of forcing themselves on their community, or they were paying for the ability to be an audience member and kind of have something given to them, right? They were still going to be playing, but they wanted to be a step back, right? They wanted to just watch what was proceeding. Okay, they just wanted to be entertained. They, rather than to play the game, they wanted to be entertained, which I think is subtly a little different. But the other half, right? So half the people were about that. The other half of the people that I found on Start Playing, interestingly, fall into this line where they say, okay, well, if I say I'm going to do this on this day, and I'm also put a small amount of money into the pot to do that thing on that day, they feel compelled to actually show up to it, and also feel that sense of belonging and sense of like, oh, other people, if they're paying to be here, are also going to actually try to show up. And the couple Start Playing games that I played in basically was half and half like that. And then, you'd lose a couple of people, but the stalwarts would stay along, and then it would, the longer the campaign would grow, the problem people get pushed out. And since we have a really good community starting off from the playtest, I'm really hoping that instead of it being like a 50-50 split, it's going to be like a 90-10 split. Because even with the playtest community, there were people that I had to remove, which I didn't like. I would like this to be a thing for everybody, but it has to be a community first. So yeah, will the games be pay to play in some fashion moving forward? Yes, and the reason is because in my experience, if that amount is small, $5-10 a month, then it'll not be as big of a barrier for people to play that they just can't afford to play, especially since the whole goal is to have the rules be something you can access if you're paying, right? You don't have to pay for, a $80 rule book if you're a Patreon member. You're paying for the monthly things, so you're sort of spreading that cost out a little bit. And then again, my hope is if I could figure out how to do it correctly, and I don't think it's going to be difficult to do, is to take some or all of the portion that I receive from Patreon and give that back to people as a discount for the digital version of the game. So if you play in the campaign for a while and the full rules get released, if you've been playing in the campaign for quite a while, you're going to be having a massively discounted or potentially free copy of the game at the end of it. So free, you're paying for being able to be in the Discord and in the Patreon. But you see what I mean, right? You're kind of double dipping on what you're getting from it. You're getting a little bit of a down payment on the game to come, and you're getting access to this cool community and stuff. And if people have questions about what I'm doing, I'm going to be meeting with the team tomorrow. So this stream is happening February 27th, February 28th. I'm meeting with the team tomorrow. We're going to be breaking down a lot of business stuff. And one of those things is going to be the Patreon and all the different subscriber tiers and stuff we're planning on do with it. Because, yeah, I have a lot of really cool things that I want to do. And unless I end up finding someone who I can get to join the team to sort of profit share stuff, or I can give them a chunk of profits from things to help me with the art side of stuff. I just have to pay for cool art. That's just the way that the world works. Is I can have all these cool ideas that I want, but if I don't have cool art to go with it, then it gets no attention. So second question. How much tech will be integrated/integral to the game? Will strictly pen and paper still be viable? So I am very passionate about this question. There was a recent video from Baron DeRop, who does Dungeon Masterpiece. He's a D&D YouTuber, way bigger than I am. And he kind of laid out what he thought the D&D brand would look like for the next 30 years. Or rather, in 30 years, what he thought it would look like, and some scenarios going forward. And I disagree with a lot of his premises that he sets up there. I'm not a business expert, so, this is completely my opinion. But one of the premises that he did have that I thought was interesting, because he didn't sort of explain it all, he just said, okay, this is true, so moving on, was the idea that the games industry, tabletop industry, would be digital first moving forward. And I don't completely disagree with that. I think that digital is going to be a very heavy component of a successful game. But the idea in my head of digital first is actually what this question is really talking about. It is, will we be able to viably play if when the game starts, we turn all the monitors off, right? If we're just playing pen and paper, will it still be viable? And the answer is yes. I'm very, very passionate about that being a thing. There are some elements that I think are better handled with technology than at a table. And I think that if the books and things are written in such a way that they only really function using the technology and the rules function only with the tech involved, then the whole game struggles. The whole game suffers from it. I don't necessarily like to use 5e as a punching bag all the time, but 5e D&D was one of the things that got me very frustrated in that game system, was looking at the way that they would say, okay, here's a thing, see this other rule, and then you see that other rule, and it'd say, see this third rule, right? Where it was kind of redirecting you around. And when that was in the same book, it was slightly weird. When it was on the same page, it was very weird. And when it was in different books, it was pretty frustrating. So I think that's something that functions really easily with a like a wiki, or if you've got like a mouse over, right? If you mouse over, oh, this rule is like blank. You mouse over the item, and it displays something, but the code says, oh, look at this, oh, look at this, oh, look at this, and it can refer to 4 different things, and then it just displays what it does to you. It doesn't matter, right? That's not a hindrance to usability. But that's not how it works when it's a printed page. And so I think that is not a good idea. And I also think there's a lot of things that designers who are basically thinking digital first can allow things to be sort of unnecessarily clunky, not be able to resolve them super quickly because they're like, oh yeah, I've got an app for that. There's a tool for it. You can just, do whatever and it'll solve all your problems. I think that's a bit of a crutch as far as design stuff is concerned. So I try not to use it. So it will still be viable, pen and paper. There are going to be things on the app that I think are going to be more useful. Now, there's a couple things that I think for AMD specifically that I do think are going to be basically assumed you're using some form of tech. And these are the same things that basically all modern games that get organized are going to have some level of tech, right? Because when you're saying, oh, are we going to have any sort of tech in what's going on here? I mean, that kind of includes using Discord to manage our conversations and schedule our games and see what we're doing and that sort of stuff. And I think that's kind of assumed to be a thing without really being calling out tech. And having stuff where when we get the app done, you'll be able to create an adventure card that says, I want to go and do this thing, right? I'm going to send this character on this mission. And you can put that card out and you can have the community look at the card, look at what you want to do, and then people can sign up for it. And then you can try to bring that card to a game master and say, hey, this is what I want to run. Please run this for me. That is very like tech forward, but it's not too dissimilar to just doing it in a Discord channel, right? Or doing it in an email chain if you're an older player or older person in the West Marches. So I don't think that integration is replacing something that would be pen and paper, because I don't think you're going to be driving to the local game store to pen something on the bulletin board for that purpose anyways, but you could. I would like for it to still be possible, but I think it's going to be in the realm of not as much on the pen and paper side. And then some of the things that you can do pen and paper, I want to make them real fast when you do them using the app, right? If you have random encounters, I'm going to be talking in one of my videos on the YouTube channel about the different styles of random encounters. And one of the ways that you can do random encounters where you generate a certain number of levels of type of encounter and an activity that they're doing. And then you can say, okay, there's 30 levels of frog. And then you can spend those points. You can think of what sort of creatures you want to have in the adventure to craft something cool there. You can do that pen paper pretty easily. You can just grab a template, say, I'm going to grab this, this, and this, and you're good to go. But one of the things that the web app would be able to do, ideally, that I think would be really cool, would be to have a few default settings that says, okay, you've got 30 levels of frog. What if we put most of those levels, most of that difficulty in one frog, right? One big guy with maybe some like little attendants, the minions of some kind. And then what if we had it in like two boss dudes with some support? Or what if we would just put it in a whole crap ton of little guys, right? Having some ideas, having these archetypes and having these like quick maths that are done where it's like, yeah, you're breaking 30. Hey, let me grab the monster manual and, say 30 levels would be, hey, we spend the most points. We spent 24 levels on getting this monster. You got 6 levels left, which are like a couple of these, where it wouldn't be strictly that is the mandatory encounter, but it would give the person running a really quick tool to be able to say, ooh, I'm not sure exactly what I want to have here, but let me see. Okay, we've rolled up frogs. We've seen that it's a pretty difficult encounter, and I've got my my aggression card, and I flipped over the aggression card, and they're out hunting, and now we can roll aggression and see what they're doing, and now I can really play with it, right? I want to give people the tools that they can pre-build a ton of stuff and then run, which would also be good in the app to be able to sort of store encounters that you make. Where like, ooh, it'd be cool to have like one of these and two of those and one of that, and you just put that into a thing you can drop in later, which you can definitely do pen and paper as well, by the way. But be able to go really fast, do all that pre-made stuff, but then at the same time, slide it all the way over to the other end of the scale, which I think is fairly infrequently to be used, right? I think both ends of the scale are infrequently used. Over here where it's all pre-made, and over here where it's completely random and we're rolling up everything and referring to tables. I think that's very rarely going to be what you want to do as well. But the app being able to support both of these things means that you can sort of see where you are on any given day in the middle between completely pre-made, I know exactly what every eyelash on every person looks like, and I just have some dice and I want to be able to have an encounter that fits the area, fits the idea that we're going with here. So, long-winded answer to tech. Yes, you'll be able to play pen and paper. Yes, tech should be able to support stuff. So next question. Okay, so the next question is, what all is in the Kickstarter? So this question kind of has two answers. So the first thing is the Kickstarter that's going to be happening this summer is going to be much smaller in scope than what I had initially planned. So I talked to some people about kind of all of the things that I wanted to do, and partially because what I want to do is non-traditional in publishing. For those of you guys that have been following the campaign and the design stuff, the idea that I'm not binding the book is a hurdle that I have to overcome in some way. And so that being the hurdle that it is, that I don't want to bind the book. So that particular hurdle means that I have to figure out how a bunch of stuff works, that I'm going against industry norms. And so if I'm a first-time creator going against industry norms, trying to do a very big sort of ambitious project, all these things together, it seemed like the best choice was to do a smaller Kickstarter first and then a larger Kickstarter later. So the first Kickstarter is going to be for the Quick Start Adventure. So it's going to be a set of rules that lets you play a adventure really quickly. The adventure is rerunnable. You can run through it several times and get different stuff out of it. Especially if you don't find what you're looking for. I am going to be rewriting some things a little bit, pretty much as soon as Gamma is over and my son is here. Whenever I have time to look up from being dad of a new tiny human, I'm going to be focusing on tweaking some pieces of the adventure to be a better first-time experience for people who want to just get an idea of, all right, what's the vibe of this game? What are we going for here? Because I think it does it well on broad strokes, but I think specific things like unlocking the new classes and things, I can tighten that up to make it a more sort of focused experience. So that's what's going to be in the first Kickstarter. Another person asked, are we going to be doing any promotional games? Yes. So I'm going to be running a few streams of games using stuff from other content creators, other people that I'm going to be talking to, and hello to new people. I'm going over some Q&A stuff. If you have any questions, toss them into chat and I will add them to lists and answer things. And I'm planning on doing streams using people from like the TTRPG, D&D Tube community, as well as a couple people that already have actual play streams that they do. And I'll be just sort of guest DMing for them. And we're going to be going to conventions. Actually, just recently, Corinne, our graphic designer, had a really, really cool idea for what we could do if you come and play one of our games at conventions. The tagline is "All mice die," right? But not all mice truly live. So the idea is to have a pen that we can give out to people, a promotional pen. It's got some cool artwork and design and stuff on it. But what it'll have in like big letters is "I died" or "I lived," or if we can figure it out, "truly lived," which I think would be the most fun. Which you play the Kickstarter, or you play the Quick Start. Sorry, not the Kickstarter. You play the Quick Start, and at the end of the Quick Start, you get a pen based on whether you lived or died. I think the pens sound like a fun idea. The little bit of a graphic that I saw had me really excited. Had me excited enough to sort of stop everything I was supposed to be doing and try to work on what I would make it look like if I had any design skills. So yes, we're going to be doing some promotional games. So I only have one more patron question. I'm going to refresh this to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Does not look like it. So I have one more patron question, but it is a bit of a long question. Any of the people that are watching, does anyone have any questions for me before I jump into this? Well, even for me, probably a little bit of a long-winded response. As a new streamer, someone who's only streamed like once or twice before, I am not really familiar what the delay, what the gap is between me asking a question and the question actually making it out and people being able to respond to it. So we'll sort of see. So question from Josh. I know we played a specialized version of AMD, but I have a general idea of how the playtest work. What will be different from the playtest from the actual game? So excluding the sessions that you played, where we tried to do sort of, if I had spare time, what we do with Mega Dungeon stuff, which was a cool idea until I broke my leg, because it was hard to do everything, and then, I broke my leg and it just bit off more than I could chew in general. So it was floundering to make it work before I hurt myself, and then it was just impossible. So Josh played in a version where we were just saying, hey, can we just focus on the dungeon crawl rules, and do the dungeon crawl rules work? And I think the rest of the campaign had done enough dungeon crawling that I felt was pretty solid, but testing out a little bit of rules there, and me building up a dungeon, which I think will come in the full rules of the game. The dungeon that you played in, Josh, I had a lot of fun with. With less major injuries. Kickstart the game. We don't have really an injuries system. There's heroic injuries, but basically the idea of heroic injuries, in a nutshell, is instead of death, you have a different negative thing that happens. And then as a negative thing that you can ideally overcome as a heroic deed. So to answer your question, how much stuff will change between the playtest and the published version? Probably a lot. One of the big ones is the spell system is being completely reworked. And this actually kind of ties in pretty well with the patron question that I said was going to take me a little while. Someone asked me, what am I working right now on, or what am I working on right now design-wise? And spells. So we have the spell system done. The spell system is something I really, really enjoy. And I was excited to go through it. I was excited to make it. And then I looked at sort of all of the combinations that you could do in the spell system. And I was like, man, this is amazing. There's so many combinations. And then later I was like, man, this is terrible. There are so many combinations, because I had an idea, right, that I would fill in a spell, or at least one spell for every slot. And I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think that the spells are going to be a little bit more open-ended, especially early on, and we're going to be adding on to them as the game progresses. So the spell system is very different now than it was in the playtest. I think some of the rules that were a little bit clunky to learn, and the ones that were frequently misinterpreted will be different. Things like used to be when you would aid other people. If you got enough aid, it was, if you 1 rank of aid is +1, 2 ranks of aid is +2, 3 ranks of aid is +2 and empowered. And we had so many people get that incorrect, who thought, 1 rank is +1, 2 rank is +2, 3 rank is +3, and you get to roll twice, take the higher. That we just tinkered with the math very slightly, especially on like the elite and solo monsters, which are, you're going to be expected to have a lot more teamwork, right? When there's like 1 or 2 big monsters and a whole team of players. When we adjusted the math very slightly for +3 instead of +2, it just makes more intuitive sense. Lots of little things like that we're going to be changing for the stuff between the playtest and the final version of the game. And the other part is, if your only experience with the game is with the playtest that we played, I think there was something like 15 classes available in the playtest, and that is not going to be the case when the game launches. I was really wanted to play test as many of the sort of advanced level classes as possible, because you have 3 categories. You have the starter classes, the simple classes, you have the advanced classes, which are sort of the mid-range and complexity classes, and you have the prestige classes, which are the most complex or the most weird for whatever reason. And I wanted to test a good chunk of the advanced classes in the last playtest. And so I wanted to make them available as early as possible, and think about like what we could do for unlocking the more complex classes, the prestige classes. So when the next campaign rolls around, the idea of exploration rewarding you with extra classes, with a lot of other things, is going to be a much faster turnaround and is going to be a big part of the game, because you're only going to be starting with 6 classes. You don't start with 15, you start with 6, and you're going to start with 5 seeds for how to kind of expand what you have, to go on adventure, to go to do things. And one of those 5 seeds, at least one of those 5 seeds actually, is going to be about unlocking another class. So one of them is going to be unlocking the Scout class, because the Scout is sort of iconic for the idea of exploration. So I think it makes the most sense if it is unlocked first. And in the rules of the game on how do I set up my world, how do I build a campaign where the pillar of exploration is the pillar I care about, it says you can have any class unlocked that you want be the one that you do. But if you do the Scout, you're sending a pretty strong signal here, right? That's the default, is have the Scout be the first unlock. And if you want to change that, then by all means, but it gives you a good starting point. And then the other 4 seeds have some like world building style questions associated with them. And when we have people who are supporting us through Patreon, and people who do stuff for the Quick Start for the Kickstarter, there's going to be options for people to either vote on or purchase the class stuff, right? To have their character artwork done in the main rule book. And if they do that, they will unlock one of these seeds will be for their class. So I have someone who's interested in purchasing the Warlock class. So it is likely we'll have one thing for the Scout and one thing for the Warlock. And I'll tell him what the other categories are here, for what they can attach their Warlock to, and kind of help build the quest with them, because I think it's a lot of fun to pull people behind the DM screen whenever I can. So I hope that answered the question. And yeah, does anyone have any other questions, either about All Mice Die or about campaigns or games or anything like that? The plan is to have this to be about a 45-minute stream, to get me into the habit of doing the stream, even if we don't have a ton to talk about and we don't cover everything that we can, have a lot of back and forth yet. Plan is to do one of these at the end of every month to answer the questions from my patrons, answer questions from community, get people more involved, and try to see if we can kind of get this moving along. So I appreciate you guys that are here for the inaugural stream. I appreciate all of your support, and I appreciate the interaction, being around, so I can get started. I can get better. So hopefully when there are thousands of people tuning in, which will never happen, when there are dozens of people maybe tuning in, I will be more used to the process, more adept at what I'm supposed to be doing, more used to our chat delay, and maybe be able to tell a joke, even if it is a delayed joke. Will I be the only DM for the next round? I don't think so. I feel it is pretty unlikely. So whenever I do have design time, I was gonna say whenever I do have design time, I work on the DM rules, but that's actually not true. I've not done that in a couple of weeks now, because I've been doing quick start stuff. I've been doing starter stuff for the campaign. But I very strongly suspect that we're going to have at least 2 people that I know of that are going to be DMs, if not right out of the gate, very, very, very soon after we start. I've talked both with Comeback, who played in the campaign. He was actually the highest level Demiurge, who is sort of kind of like a cleric, but not really. If you've played 4th edition, it's a little bit like the 4th edition Invoker class. So a divine spellcaster, or somewhat like the Warlock as well, right? It's having like a radiant patron. So he played the Demiurge, and he had some really cool ideas for adventures. And we had talked quite a bit about adventure stuff. And I'm hoping that once the quick start is running and people can get the quick start in their hands, and hoping that if they can feel, oh yeah, I can run this, and the rules are pretty straightforward as far as what the DM is doing, that when I hand the DM tools over and say, all right, here's what the encounter sheets look like, here's what the random encounter tables look like, have at it, right? If I can do a lot of the early front-loaded prep work so that people can run stuff pretty easily. I do think we're going to have some people running, like I said, Comeback is one of them. Node, who played Nidal, who is our iconic Revenant. He is also expressed some interest in running games as well. And he's run a lot of games for it. He has some really cool ideas, actually, for Josh. One of the things that he was considering doing is he had this conceptualization of having like a portal to another world, but the other world would be some sort of biome somewhere else on Earth, another real life connection. And one of the ones that we talked about was the Sonoran Desert, because the Sonoran Desert is such a cool thing. When you shrink down to the size of mice, it has all of these biomes, all these microbiomes that are so close to each other that you can almost have that thing in like MMOs, right? Where you play in, say, World of Warcraft or in EverQuest or in one of those, and you're like, oh yeah, I've got like a little forest biome here and a swamp biome here, and there's a marshland here, and there's this and this and this. Having these pieces sometimes feel completely chaotic and disconnected, because how do you have all those things right next to each other? But when you shrink it down and you look at something like the Sonoran Desert, you don't have that problem. Those are actually things. You have this incredible high heat on this stone in the heat, and you've got this cave, and you've got water, and you have the sort of ecosystem that evolves around certain plants that are super specific. That I think would be really cool. Hello, Treasure. TMG. I feel like I should know that name, and I don't. I feel bad. Sorry. But hello, Treasure. Welcome to the stream. So yeah, I think we're going to have several different people running. And, to that effect, I think that once we have the quick start available for people to run in a polished way, even the members of my team who I feel are very experienced in playing the game might find it's way easier to run the game. That step is way easier than what they're potentially thinking it's going to be, because that's one of the big design goals of my game. If I've done it correctly, it should be pretty easy to step from being a player to being a character. You don't recognize the profile picture on TMG. I do not, because it is tiny. See, can I make it bigger? I cannot. Let's see. Can I tell what it is? My guess is that it might be a doggo, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I hope lots of people will be running. I have some thoughts about running as well. Oh, hello, Taryn. I think that one of the things that I want to do more long term, right, is build something up. I do recognize, if the picture was not like teeny tiny, I would recognize the doggo, because they were a good doggo. If I set up the Patron to do everything that I want, right? And I can try to somewhat model the success I've seen in another big Patreon that has done very well as far as like having a good community, because that's what I really care about, right? I'm less on the I want to do this and make a bunch of money and kind of make this my job, because I need and want to be dad first. I do not want to make this my full-time job. I want to be able to and make this my full-time hobby to a certain degree. Like I want to have all of my hobby time be directed into a community and have that community build and sort of have this engine running. But I want it to be something that is worthwhile for other people as well, right? I want them to feel like they're getting something from it, that they're, putting money in and then seeing cool stuff out. It's one of those things of the idea of Patreon to me is awesome, and I want to have the idea where it's like, yeah, I want to be a patron of the arts, so I put money into this hat, and that hat makes art. And so I don't think a lot of that money going to me makes sense, because while I think there's value in design, it's not artwork, right? But in order to get people to experience the design, you do need artwork. So all of the money basically is going to go straight into the art. It's going to be going to Jesse, who is doing the big artwork pieces. It's going to be going into as soon as I can afford to pay Amber and Corinne. It's going to be going to Amber and Corinne for their work on the game, on the videos, on layout and design and that sort of stuff. And it's going to be going to Stephanie, who's done some really, really cool stuff. And I am very excited if what is in my head, if I'm good enough at being able to manage other people and not running out of money, if what I can put in my head on the paper is this layout of design of what I want to do with what it looks like on the page, and then have Stephanie do the stuff that I want to in the blanks, where she's going to basically make like almost like a little cartoon or a comic. Because when I was a kid, there were a couple books that I remember reading where there was like a little adventure that happened. Maybe like there was an illustration every page or two, or there was like stuff that went through the page of this through line of an adventure that was happening in the kids' book that I was reading, that I just thought was just so charming and cool. And I want there to be more stuff like that in this book, right? I want the idea of exploration is what we care about. Having a bunch of these little minion mice, right? These little doodles that are exploring even the page itself, even the rules on the page, as they're, taking little pulleys and ropes and, scouting with their little glasses and stuff. I think that would be just so cool, that it could bring the right sort of vibe of stuff into the world, into the game that I want to run. So we're coming up on the sort of 45-minute mark. So I'm not going to stop myself at 45 minutes, but I'm going to stop sort of forcing myself to keep going at the 45-minute mark. Does anyone have any questions about campaign stuff? I guess I'd say questions that don't involve the chaotic nature of overworking people to understand how the planes work in my D&D campaign, because that is chaos. That is glorious, but it's uninteresting to people that are not in our games. Maybe uninteresting to some of the people in our games. I'm glad you like the art. I think he has been doing a fantastic job. If I was a better streamer, I would be able to potentially figure out how to show artwork. Let's see. I have this little logo here. See if I can show. I'll put this behind. I'll put my map. See if I can get it to show some of the cool artwork. Give you guys a little sneak peek of the art that he is currently working on. So our artist, Jesse, he's been doing all kinds of cool stuff. And he's right now working on Glarb and Kisket. And I like both of these characters. I think everything that he's done so far. We're sort of working faster and faster now on the back and forth, because I think he's really getting the vibe of the character faster and faster, right? Like at first it was really touch and go. We weren't exactly sure kind of what we were doing all the way through. And there's a lot of explanation of like, no, that's not exactly what I'm going for. That's not exactly what the thing is. And now the more of these that he's done, the less I have to try to clarify, the more he's like, oh, I understand the vision that we're going for, and that's what we can do. Let me see if I can put this in front to show you what the current... all right, let's see. Let's lock my camera. Oh, hid my camera. That works too. I'll hide my camera, and I'll unlock this, and I'll show you guys. So here's a completed artwork on the left. That is Baron Bartleby, the Weasel Lord. And then we have here the artwork for Kisscat. Kisscat is a skink. And skinks in this world, specifically blue-tailed skinks in this world, are information brokers. And I absolutely love what he has done with Kisscat. There is this sort of yes, come here, I've got just the right thing for you vibe that he was able to capture with Kisscat. That was just fantastic. Like it was everything I wanted it to be. So I really, really like what he has done with Kisscat so far. And I can't wait to see his finished product once it gets all shaded in and all the lighting and stuff added. I think it's just going to be perfect. So the cool artwork is going to keep coming by all means. And the campaign that played last time also had a sweet spot for Kisscat because she is awesome. All right. Let's see. I've heard you mention a new campaign coming in the summer for patrons only, Kickstarters only. Any sneak peeks you want to tease? Yes, new campaign is going to be after the Kickstarter. Hopefully, I'll have everything ready for basically the Kickstarter ends. I can immediately after the Kickstarter ends, I can get digital copies out with sort of minimal art and minimal layout to the backers, 48 hours later, and then get the artwork done, get the digital copies of this stuff out in like a month or so, and then have physical copies in people's hands by the end of the summer. So it sort of depends on what my turnaround is going to look like and how much stuff I can get prepared to get started. But I'm hoping that basically as soon as the Kickstarter ends, as soon as I can get the first versions, right, the non-art versions of the Quick Start in people's hands so they can start running and start doing stuff, that I'll be able to start the campaign then. And that is going to be the idea. And the sneak peeks for it is going to be that it's going to be an older age than the last thing that we started. And it's going to be about the age of the oak. It's going to be this constant exploration, something where there aren't any powers that be, right? If you think of something, one of the sort of classic things in a lot of your Diablo-style games is the sort of washed up on an island. You've got nothing, and you've got to find each little piece as you go along, and that sort of survival game style start of the adventure, I think can be really fun. And I played in a West Marches game about 10 years ago that had a section like that where it was like pure survival mode sort of stuff, and it was a blast. So I've had some really good ideas to use for that didn't fit with the playtest that we ran. There just wasn't really a spot for it. It was too civilized, it was too developed, and so I'm really looking forward to doing that. Yeah, you have to have a handy claw trap when you are Kisscat. Some of the players were on the wrong side. Actually, I don't know if anyone actually got attacked by Kisscat in the playtest, but definitely we're on the wrong side of some traps by some other notable skinks. One of the people that ran the Quick Start, the skink Diggert, Dig the Earth. He's in the Quick Start, and one of the groups lost at least one character. I think one character, maybe one character died and one character was severely injured because they inadvertently stole something from him and he shot them. And that was a thing. Yes. So for people who played in the last playtest, where in the timeline does the next campaign take place? I know it's a prequel, but can I ask where in the timeline? Yes. So this is slightly spoilery, but it's not that big of a deal for people that want to see, because this will be in the game rules, right? Is that everything takes place in like blocked ages, right? So you have at the start of an age, it is this survival age of discovery. We have no idea what's going on. We need to sort of rebuild civilization. And then you get to the end of the age, and now the civilization is put together, but they know that the end is coming. They know that the fall of everything is happening. And at the end of the age, they try to sort of time capsule some stuff to make it to the next age, to make it to the next time. There's a big gap between the end of an age and the beginning of a new one. So the age of the counties was what they played in the playtest. The one before that was the age of the clockmakers, and the one before that was the age of the oak. And so we're going to be playing in the age of the oak. And I do want to jump back. So Treasure, when you said very bright colors, actually one of the fun things that I like about this is if you go and you look up, like you Google search, a common 5-lined skink, you can find one with a blue tail. You can see that not only is the color of the tail actually that sort of vibrant and brilliant, but if you zoom in, this is one of the reasons that I really appreciate working with Jesse, is I didn't even say this. I had said this about something else, about some of the details being accentuated when we zoom in, and he did this all on his own. But you can see at the base of the tail, when the blue meets the rest of the body, there is this iridescent band on the skink, and it looks cool when you're really big looking down. You're like, oh yeah, I can sort of see that. But if you were that size, right? If the skink was, you know, the size of a car compared to a human, then that little band would be this vibrant thing, and that's what he's done on Kiss Cat, and I just think it looks awesome. It's beautiful. Any other questions for me? And a lot of the so I'm gonna be having a YouTube video comes out 3 p.m. every Friday. So if you want to watch it, cool. The video that came out today was on open table play, right? And the different styles of open table play. I don't expect very many people to be sort of super interested in it, but I very much expect of the videos that I have, it's going to be one of those that I link to people on a semi-regular basis, because I'll talk about open table stuff. And then rather than me trying to recapitulate or type out something, I'll just say, this is where I explain what this is, which is how all my old YouTube videos used to be, right? I didn't really make the video to try to get audience. I made the video to try to explain something to someone so that I could just send someone a video and say, here is my explanation of this, watch it, and if you have questions, you can poke me. Or if someone wants to know, what are you talking about? I can just link something and you can go and watch or listen to it if you care to kind of hear my perspective on it. But I'll be having a video that comes out every Friday. I've got several things that are sort of general TTRPG topics, and then using stuff from All My Sty as examples. And then middle end of April, that'll transition into very specific videos about what's in the Kickstarter, what are we doing with the Kickstarter, what are all the different pieces of the Patreon, what are the plans for the summer campaign, right? What is the framework of stuff? One of the stuff that we're going to be going over tomorrow on our meeting with the design team is going to be about explaining the roadmap moving forward. And if I can find a way to share the sort of Obsidian Vault canvas that I'm doing for my little mental map, share that with the community, that would be cool. Just so that people can be like, hey, here's what we're doing. Because I think having good roadmaps for what the plan is and being able to communicate about when things change is just the sauce, right? Of being any kind of developer. And even though it's what we're doing is very small scale, I'd like to create good habits, right? So if we do anything bigger, and I'm going to be talking to some people next week about getting an official publisher, getting sorts of things. And one of the publishers that I already talked to basically said, well, if we can prove that what we're doing right now works on a small scale, they would be really interested if we can find a way to make either the niche that we're in better suited to what we're doing, right? Hyper focus on a niche where we are the best option, which I genuinely think the way that AMD plays right now, there's really not another good option for doing what we're doing, at least on the DM side of stuff. And I've been digging through so many games recently to try to find one that does what I want it to as a DM, and I've just really not found what I want. So I'm hoping that'll be a big point. But their thing is, hey, if you can expand this out to be, more of a system with other settings and things inside of it, which we very much can, then I might be able to work with a publisher at the end of the second Kickstarter for what would be, if the first Kickstarter succeeds, that's actually not true. No matter if the first Kickstarter succeeds or not, I'm going to be doing the second one regardless, because the game, I'm very passionate about getting the game done in some form or fashion. And it's not about like making money. It's making the second Kickstarter means I get to complete the game and I lose less money on the Kickstarter. I'm spending less money on my hobby, where, if I break even, puppies and rainbows, wonderful. So like the first Kickstarter, really doesn't matter if it succeeds or fails. I hope it succeeds. I hope it means that it shows that the second Kickstarter has a chance of succeeding, because the second Kickstarter will sort of need to at least make its funding goal for me to be able to afford to print the game. And if the second Kickstarter does succeed, then the third thing that I want to do, the third Kickstarter, which would be a good chunk down the line, is going to involve me being able to expand the scope out a little bit. So the AMD logo, the M can have a sort of rotating meaning, right? It is mice in the current thing. It's mice in what I'm focusing on. It's mice in everything I'm enjoying. But if I change the M to be men, all men die instead of all mice die, having the same core foundational philosophy to why the things work in the world, and then building alterations, especially if we can get this to work the way that I'm hoping we can get it to work on the app, it should allow us to create a world and create a series of systems that you have this ever-evolving, ever-growing menu of things that you can tack onto your game, right? You can sort of think of like, if you play like D&D 5th edition, when they add new stuff on, they tend to add like a whole new category, right? So they'll add like a full class. So it's a big chunk of a new section. But they don't tend to add a whole lot of little pieces to every part of the game. And when they do add stuff, it tends to need to require the first thing. So you have, here are these core rules, and then here are all these little things that you can buy to tack on, and you sort of pick which elements that you like or things that you like from different areas, and you tack it onto the core rules. And that system's fine. That works. That's okay. I'm not super interested in doing that for every version of the game. What I'd like to be able to do is go like, okay, here is a full standalone thing. You can just play this. And then here's another standalone thing that you can just play, right? You can play All Mice Die and you don't need to take anything from All Men Die. You can play All Men Die and you don't need to play anything from All Mice Die. But the app will have all of the pieces, and it should be pretty easy when this thing gets ported in, that now you have this gigantic list of checkboxes that you can decide, oh, I like how the bones system, so where spells in All Mice Die, you craft a scroll and then you cast the spell through the scroll and it destroys the scroll as you cast it, right? Very classic D&D nonsense of
you have a consumable, but it's a spell scroll. And there's some ways to make it not consumable, but that's the core identity. Whereas the idea for All Men Die, it being this prehistoric age, right? The fantasy prehistory where dinosaurs and men coexist and dinosaurs find men to be tasty. They cast not through scrolls because they don't have paper or parchment. They cast through bones, and they cast the bones to do stuff. And if you like that system, it should be trivially easy to port it into the other one. Or if you don't like that system, it should be trivially easy for you to say and swap them out. And for people who play in your campaign to be able to play without having to go and get those other things, right? Where if you say, I'm going to use the bone system in All Mice Die, you don't have to explain it to them specifically. What you would just need to do is have your version of the web app or your version of the physical copy of the game. And on the web app, when they go under spellcasting, they just don't see anything about scrolls, right? They don't see the AMD, the All Mice Die version of scrolls. They see only the bones version, right? So you're not saying, here's a list of options, ignore all this stuff, pay attention to this stuff to your player. They're only seeing things that are relevant to them. And by the same token, if you're playing at a table, right, you're playing full analog, the idea is that you have a game book as a binder. And so what you would do is you got hey, I have the rules for the bone casting. I can put it in the template to be able to print it out. I can print it out, 3-hole punch it, and then I can just take the section for scrolls, the magic system in All Mice Die, and just pull it out, put it in my game binder, take the thing I just printed off, put it in, clip. Again, same thing. The only thing that you're seeing is the stuff that's relevant to you. And I think making it truly modular like that is going to be easier for people who want to run games, because nobody really runs the game like perfectly according to the rules. Everyone is playing, different incarnations of similar games. You play in a D&D 5e game. You're not really playing a game. You're playing in a genre. You're playing one instance of a thing in a genre. And those games, even if you're just playing like Lost Mines of Phandelver, you're sort of you're playing like an archetype, or you have like an archetype for like a TV show, right? You're playing like a Monster of the Week TV show, and you can explain how it's getting resolved, and then someone could be able to say, oh, well, that's this mystery show, or that's that mystery show, where it's like, oh no, that's Columbo versus that's Murder, She Wrote, where the format is sort of the same, but how you go about that is different. I think that matches a lot more with how people actually run and play D&D than to say, here is the rules, and then you just play through the rules. One of the things, for the people that are in here that have played in my 4th edition campaign are very well aware of is I wish I could just take a giant hatchet to the 4th edition compendium and cut out all of the stuff that I don't want to use, and then put all the stuff that I do want to be in the compendium in there, right? I want to cut out all of the language nonsense that's there and replace it with all of my language stuff. I want to cut out all of the race information. I want to put in the way that races work. I want to cut out all the planner information, put in my own planner information, right? I want to be able to, I've been struggling with this for so many years of when I do have the time, energy, and effort to do it, I will actually break apart the campaign, and I'll make this expansive document, or I'll make a wiki or something for my campaigns. And it's just so much work that it's almost never worth it for me to share it with anyone. Because then once I have it all put together the way I want to, then I have to go, okay, what parts of this do I want the players to see, and what parts of it do I not want them to see? And if I have a grid that is, this is the true name of this individual, and then at the top are languages and cultures of different places of the world, and different ages, and different expressions or different nicknames, and I have one character who has a list of 30 different names on that list, having that in my own personal wiki is very important to me because I need to be able to look it up. But I don't want to share that with the players, right? That is them being able to explore things as they go along. And one of the things that excites me, my phone is blowing up for some reason, sorry. One of the things that excites me is being able to have the players explore these things and being able to play with it. So, all right. I don't know what I was answering. I got so distracted that I got so off topic that I completely lost the thread. But I think that's where we'll wrap up. I'll see what is needed from me. I think I might have forgotten to include the kids' meds from Steph. Can't say live, but we'll catch the stream later. Hidden Treasure, thank you very much for playing in the campaign and for joining us on the stream. I'm going to be doing one of these at the end of every month. I will do my best to do the next one at a time that is more neutral to the people playing in the Earth, right? I want to kind of do it midday on a weekend for those that are on the other side of the planet that might want to tune in so they don't have to be awake at 6 a.m. to say hi. I want my players to play with the world while I'm over here teaching myself Blender to get these planes to make sense. Yeah, basically. But if you had all of those things and had access to them, it would just feel like noise, right? Uncovering bit by bit and piece by piece is the fun, or at least is the fun for me, being able to run the game and see what people engage with and see who randomly gets a ship and takes this, a really large chunk of my notes for my 4th edition campaign is about the rulers of the different named cities in the Inner Sea, about the conflicts between the succession of different noble families and houses, about the Cold War between the city of Endeavor and the city of Sanctuary, about how Grace is trying to play against them and how Haven fits into it. There are all these pieces, right? I have, an entire little wiki with maybe 150 pages of notes that are completely irrelevant, which I love, right? I love that you guys did all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's that same thing, right? Where a lot of the things that are in there were, okay, I need to set up the rules for how this works. I then need to see how all these pieces fit together. And if that was something that was easier for me to do, then I feel like I would have the tools to be able to run a fun, more complex, more engaging game for me to run and more interesting game for people to puzzle with without me having to just sort of stress myself out all the time. So anyways, I hope that that's what I'm going to be able to get to in the far side of things. I'm really looking forward to seeing what sort of the card system that we're developing, how easy that will be to port to other games. Because, the last thing that I'll say before I force myself to hop off here is I very much want for the players or for the people who either support my stuff on Patreon or who back stuff on Kickstarter, I very much want those people to be able to use the material. How they use the material is a lot less important to me. So even though I'm not someone who enjoys D&D 5th edition, if that is something that people are playing and enjoying, I don't want to tell them to stop doing that. But I do want to give them the tools to say, hey, this is why I do these things instead of 5e, right? This is not me convincing you to play mice, because that's not something that is going to be as easy to port over into 5e. But it is me saying, consider having your players be the ones that are rolling for their defenses. See how that impacts the thing where people feel like they can just kind of get up from the table and walk away when it's not their turn, or they can sort of check out. If they're constantly, having to do stuff by being the one that is rolling their defenses, if they get to roll to attack the enemy with their spells, so the DM doesn't get to roll their saving throw, and DM rolled well, so I do nothing, doesn't happen. That's not hard to flip the math and to put that into 5e. And then a lot of the tools that we're coming up with, like the random encounter cards and the aggression cards and things like that, they're going to be able to be just used in 5e. Same with the spells. Some of the spells are going to have a 5e conversion for them of like, if you want to use Bane Light in 5th edition, this is how you use Bane Light in 5th edition to make it interesting. So yeah, I hope that comes across. I hope that's something that we can do, because I selfishly think that that'll get more people to play some parts of the game and then think, oh, maybe I'll play more of it, as well as it might get people who are just interested in the idea of the tool they can use right now to potentially, you know, put money into the system so I can spend it on more cool art and more cool things for the people that are playing the game. All right, well, that's it for me. Take it easy, everyone. I should probably remember what my sign-off is for my videos and try to use it here. But I do know, what I will say, is if you want to do more stuff here, you can subscribe, hit the bell icon down below. Consider supporting me on Patreon. If you feel like you want to play in the campaign itself, maybe wait for a little bit on Patreon so you can get the best bang for your buck when things happen, probably in June. And you can stay tuned to the channel and you'll get some more announcements there. And you can also join the Discord. It is a bit of a ghost town right now, but I've got some cool ideas and stuff I'm going to be doing next month for getting people talking and doing stuff in the Discord. Because at the end of the day, I'm the West Marches guy, and West Marches is all about community. Have a good time, everybody.